All right, guys, I'm live here today with Johann Nogueira. Is that right, dude? How do I pronounce your last name? Because it is one difficult name.
You got it.
I got it.
Nogueira.
Yeah. All right, excellent. So, we're talking today about the contracts and the kind of stuff he does. So, a bit of context. What exactly does your business do?
Sure. So, I have three businesses. They support each other. So, the first business that I have is a digital agency. From that, we evolved from websites to traffic generation, social media marketing, that sort of stuff, to becoming a provider to the most... We got known in the industry as the people who get the hardest projects done. So from that, we build software, we build platforms, that's generally what the digital agency now does. We've partnered up with 36 different agencies, and we are the engine room that creates those websites. So last year we did 1,000 websites, 350 apps, that sort of stuff. But that does not give me any joy, or there's no passion in that, right? So
Even so, that is epically... So 1,000 websites and how many apps?
350.
Okay, that's insane. And that's driven mostly through partnerships.
Correct. It's all done via joint ventures and partnerships. You see, when I started my business 8 years ago, what I did was I found I couldn't be bothered going and finding clients. So I went up to the agencies that I could find in Melbourne and said, hey, you know what? You've got 12 people here. Out of those 12 people, 8 of them are designers, and you've got 4 salespeople. What would your profits look like if we switched that around? If you had 8 salespeople and you had 4 developers just in case you needed them? They went, well, I said, give us a try, and this is how we do all of our deals. Give us a try. Let us prove ourselves. Let us put our money where our mouth is, and show you exactly how we do things. And so because we have really good processes, we can do what they do in 2 months, we can do in probably about a month. Most of the time less, but I'm just going to say a month. And so from that, we built these amazing relationships. Now it's been 8 years with all of these other agencies. So they feed us work into our engine room all the time. We white label for them. So they have wholesale rates, they know exactly what they're going to charge, and that business runs. We have a total of 80 people that work on these projects across the world all the time, full time. We have 12 project managers here. So that's that business, right? And 3 years ago, I stopped working in that business. I have amazing people who look after that business. 5 years ago, I built a software development company accidentally. I know it sounds funny, but all I did was I was living in...
Do me a favour, can we rewind just a little bit before this? How did you get into web space in the first place? Because...
Oh, how did I get into
web space? How did you get... What started this whole entrepreneurial journey for you? Because I guess you and I come from a similar background in terms of our cultures from a place called Goa, but...
That's right.
When did you come here, and what made you decide, hey, you know what, I'm going to start doing business?
All right, cool. Well, how? Okay, that's it. So that epiphany happened probably 2004. So my background is an agricultural scientist. I don't know if you know. Well, anyway.
I think you may have mentioned it, actually.
So what my honors thesis was in genetically modified canola. We'd take the genes out of fish and put it into canola and grow it for your oils. From there, I went into a PhD because the month that I got my honors thesis, Australia banned genetically modified canola. So I had this piece of paper with, honors and couldn't do anything with it in Australia. I had to go to Canada if I wanted to continue. And that was 5 years of my life. So I actually went to do a PhD, and now you ask me where did this brain switch happen and decide to go into business. I decided to do the PhD, and a year into it, my supervisor came up to me and said, you're doing a great job, in 10 years you'll be at my level. I went, holy shit, 10 years at his level? That's fucking amazing. I want to do that. Sorry, I swore on your show. Man, you can bleep that out. I asked him, he travels the world, writes books, keynote speaking. I'm like, dude, I want to do that. That's amazing. I want to be like you. And then I asked him the question which changed my life. I asked him how much money he made. And he told me it was $80,000. And I went, what? Are you fucking kidding me? I left a $60,000 job to come work with you for 5 years on a $20,000 a year scholarship. And then you're telling me 10 years after that, I'm going to make $80,000. The maths just did not make sense. So I started thinking, I'm like, shit, I need to make more money. How am I going to make more money? And I went onto eBay. And on eBay, I found a way to make money on eBay. So, that's a whole other story. I can tell you that if we've got another, that'll take a while. So I won't tell you that story anyway. But I basically built an eBay business. In 6 months, it was doing more money. It was making more money than he did in 4 hours a day. So I learned the power of leverage and systems. Yeah. From there, I've got self-inflicted ADD. I moved into affiliate marketing. This is like 2006, around there. Mastered that for 2 years, loved it, and then from there fell into CPA marketing, cost per acquisition. So we did that for 2 years. I was buying ad space, American Express, Westpac, Commonwealth Bank, American Express, all those guys, Ticket Tech.
Finance and ticketing kind of stuff, yeah.
Exactly. All those fun, blue chip companies. So I learned lead generation. From there, I met a guy who said, "Hey, I need to fill a room with 80 people in my room. I'm running a seminar." I said, "Dude, that's easy." So actually, this is why it reminds me a lot about you, because whenever I talk to you, you're like, "Dude, that's easy." And that's what I said to this guy. I'm like, "Dude, that's easy." He's like, "Okay." And so we had a board meeting, and he told me exactly who he wanted in the room. And we had our catch-up meeting the week after, and his laptop was filling up with leads. CEO, director, CEO, director, CEO, director. He's like, "Holy shit, this is freaking amazing. How the hell did you do this? What do you want other than the money?" I said, "Give me 15 minutes to talk." So there's 15 minutes to talk. Now I'm speaking in front of 80 CEOs and directors. This is 8 years ago. That's where Nogueira Alliance was born, which is now my alliance. So that's how the digital company, digital agency came to be. And back then, I had 5 people working. Now we have 92. So it's been an interesting journey. So that's how everything happened and how I got into the business world from a scientific background.
Okay. So you get this point where you've got the eBay business, did CPA stuff, so you've been ADD, so you're just shifting. There's another shift there I'm pretty sure has happened that you told me you went more for strategic mindset. When did that happen for you and why? Because it was very easy for you to, do more of the same.
Yeah, that's right. And at the end, from the digital agency, we built a software company. So this is where strategy sort of came into it. No, actually, strategy has always been part of it. Jay Abraham had a huge impact on my development when I was 22 years old. So, I saw him as the person who could walk into any room and solve problems. I wanted to be the person who could walk into any business and solve their problems, show them how to maximize, how to build, how to grow. And so that's been my focus. Yeah.
Okay.
Forever. Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah. Since then. So anytime I'm sitting in a restaurant, I'm like, man, you could upsell me by offering me blah, 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 blah. I go into a store when I'm talking to a salesperson, I'm like, dude, upsell me on, this is what you need to say to upgrade it and get more out of the sale. This is how you should collect your database. And yeah. So anyway, so strategy is just part of my DNA now, and that's what I love. So speaking, yep. Okay. I'll send it back to you. So is that what you wanted me to discuss a little bit about there?
Yeah, that's perfect. That's excellent. So going from there, you've started getting into the development side. How did that happen?
Sure. So living in this building, and in this building, it's meant to be one of Melbourne's best buildings. Yet every day I keep getting a piece of paper under my door saying, hey, your carpets are getting cleaned, hey, your windows are getting washed. I'm like, well, this is not very techy. So, after a month of living there, I've got an inch thick of paper sitting on my thing, which I've accumulated. And I'm like, dude. So I went down to the guy. I said, how much is this costing me? He said, it's $1 per sheet. Like $1 per sheet, 500 apartments, every day getting a notification that, the side of the building's getting cleaned, or the carpets are getting cleaned, or the pool's in maintenance, or the gym's out of order, or whatever, the barbecue's available, etc. What a waste of resources. It's actually a $350,000 expense that they were going through by the time somebody
blows
walks
your mind
around.
when you think that.
So I said to him, I'm like, dude, why don't we build an app for the building? And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about, but you sound like a software guy. And by the way, this comes in handy when it comes to software. Nobody has ever asked me my credentials. They just assume I'm a software guy, which is great. So So I said, yeah, give me the scope of work. So we took the scope of works that he had. We looked at Dubai. Dubai has the best buildings, the best tech when it comes to their buildings.
So you went to Dubai after this conversation?
Yeah, correct. So that we could go and see and meet the people who are doing the best, have the best tech. So we brought that back here, reverse engineered it, and had it with the best bells and whistles, which they didn't have. Showed it to him. He loved it. He said, "You're on a roll." Showed to the owners corp, showed it to them. They're like, "Oh my God, this is amazing. We want it." And then from there, it went on to, he's like, "Hey, they actually really like this. Why don't you tell them about your app idea?" Mocking me. So I said, "Dude, I'll tell them." So I told them about the app idea, and they go, "We love that. We'll have that too." So at the end of that conversation, he's like, how do we partner up? He goes, "I control all of these buildings across Melbourne. How do we become business partners?" I go, "Well, what do you want to do?" And so from there, that was 5 years ago. So 2.5 years into that business, he retired. He just came one day. He said, not one day. It took like a couple of months. He's like, I'm done. I'm retired. We've made so much money." I'm like, "Made so much money? We haven't even hit 0.00001% as yet." He's like, "Are you serious?" But he was very serious about leaving. So I was like, "Cool, done. I'm going to take on the company," and I did. And then a week later, I get a call from these guys going, "Hey, we've been trying to reverse engineer your tech for 2 years. We can't do it. What do we have to do to buy you out or to partner with you?" I said, "Well, funnily enough, I'm open to partnership." Now, these guys who I met are just something else. I've never met people like this in my life. I meet business people all the time, but the way these guys think, the strategy behind their thinking, and how they build companies with purpose to exit, with IPO in mind.
Okay.
Now, I've never, ever thought about IPOing a company. And so right from day one, they've set this thing up to do a $100 million IPO. And just the steps over the last 2.5 years of watching how they've built this and how the company has been growing, I've been in awe. I talked to the guy yesterday. I'm like, holy shit, the amount of stuff I've learned from you in the last 2.5 years is incredible. Those are life lessons which I'm going to have for the rest of my life. And this is only 2.5 years in. And this is knowledge that is actually only passed down from the elite down to their progeny. So I'm very blessed or fortunate or lucky to be in business with these guys. And so I'll give you an example. We're a tech company. 2.5 years ago. Well, 5 years ago, we were a tech company. Every building that we used to put our systems into was a fight. We were fighting for resources. We're trying to convince people that they needed this. Dude, put this in. It's going to cost you 50 grand, and we are going to save you, 2 million, 3 million, 5 million a year. And still, we had to fight. It's just like the most stupidest thing when we have to fight to help save them money. Anyway, but now, because of the way we've pivoted, we are no longer a tech company. Now, if you think about that building, in that building is how many people? It's a database. It's a captive database of people. We can essentially now give away the technology, and we can make money on the back end of that database all day, every day. We did a joint venture with a moving company. Now, every time somebody clicks a button on that app and says move in, move out, we get a clip of that. Average is $500. When you think about how many people are moving in and out of that building all day long, now that's just one building, right? Think if you scale that.
Another revenue stream from something you're already doing.
Exactly. So that's
guys,
number one.
I suppose everyone else listening to this, thank you all for joining. But if you have any questions, just let us know and we'll try and answer them whilst we're doing the stream.
For sure. Yeah. So that was one thing. So what we learned, and this is the biggest lesson which I wish I knew back in the day when I was first starting off, is turning your business into an ecosystem. So right now, your whole business model might be one business model. When you put in all 10 of these proven business models into your business, you actually become unstoppable. You dominate the industry and you build a business that's going to leave a legacy. Would you like me to cover these 10 models?
Yes, let's cover them.
All right. So can you tell me any business in the world that can give away everything for free and still be profitable and be one of the biggest companies in the whole world?
I'm trying to rethink of what circumstances you're talking for. I'm blanking. What do we discuss? Which company are we talking about? It's going to be something that's really obvious when you say it.
Well, what are we doing right now? We're doing a Facebook Live.
Facebook? Yeah.
Right. Facebook gives away everything for free, but it makes money from the database, right? Advertisers. So Facebook.
Okay, so we're not talking about the back end, yeah.
Correct. So Facebook, Google, YouTube, they give away everything for free. Yet their business model is they make money from the back end. How does that relate to what we do? We give away the apps for free. People can download it. But in return, what are we getting? We're getting all of their data, right? Because now we know what they're doing, what they're clicking on. All that is tracked in the back end. Now, the second business model is a recurring business model. If you have a mobile phone, if you have Slack, if you have Dropbox, if you have any subscription-based, MyOp, Zero, they're all subscription-based businesses. How do you build a subscription into your business model? Because then you have predictable cash flow, you have recurring revenue, which you can now count on every month. You don't have to go hunting for that client. Most businesses, especially in the digital space, they're hunting every month. They spend 2 weeks hunting and then 2 weeks delivering. Or probably they think they're going to spend 2 weeks delivering. They end up spending 4 months delivering, getting scope creep and all those sorts of things. I'm sure people can relate to that. So second business model is recurring. How do you build recurring into the business model? How did we build it into our business model? That building has a community around it. Dry cleaners, restaurants, plumbers, electricians, they all want to get access to that database, which is the people who live in that building. Instead of them putting flyers and things into people's letterboxes, they can go on the app. Now they're on the app, they can pay a recurring subscription every month to be on that app. And if they're not there, their competitor's going to be on there. So imagine 2,000 people having you as the preferred supplier as electrician, plumber, dry cleaner. How much business are you doing? So that's
you initially sold that, but then you flipped the model. Is that what I'm hearing?
We used to sell it as a tech. We used to sell the app and then allow them to do, we used to create it based on what they needed. But now by creating it and saying this is how we are going to turn this into an asset, not a liability. So remember I said we were fighting with everybody and they were like,
you flipped it
why the hell do we have to spend 50 grand, blah, blah, blah. Now we say this is exactly how we're going to put this in. You're covering the costs of it, but we're actually going to turn it into an asset that's generating you $500,000 a month or whatever it is, right? And so by implementing these business models into their app, so we're building a new profit center for their business. Make sense?
That makes sense. So initially they saw it as we're paying like $1 per thing. Whilst it hurts over a long period of time, whereas if you buy your thing, it's going to cost us a lot and it's going to hurt very quickly.
Exactly, correct. And that's all they were saying. They were just saying a number, and they're like, "Dude, that's a lot of that's a lot for tech, because that's how they make their buying decisions. It's tech, it's technology. Why should we pay so much for that? Whereas it's behind all tech. It's not. You're not actually paying for the tech. You're paying for the IP that goes behind that. So that's business model number 2. Business model number 3 is the freemium model. Freemium is where you give them access to everything for free. But then if they want access to certain modules, they pay extra. So same with our system. They get access to everything for free. If they want these other amazing modules, they can unlock them and they can pay a premium to get that. So that's, MailChimp, Slack, etc. They give you the base model for free. You good with me?
I'm good. I'm liking it.
Awesome. So model number 4 that we implemented is a hypermarket model. So what a hypermarket is where you have group buying power. So Amazon, Graze Online, Costco, they all have group buying power and they have traffic that goes through their stores. So that's their asset, the traffic. What they're doing is they're getting wholesalers or retailers to put their products in there, and then they take a clip on all the products. So now what we have is we have group buying power in the building. So I'm going to keep relating this to buildings because that's what I do, but you have to relate it to your...
Whatever your business is. So whether you have the ability to buy in scale based on your customer base, etc.
Exactly. So hypermarket, you have a database. That database is hungry for product X. And you go to product X and say, hey, guys, we've got 2,000 people, 10,000 people, 100,000 people who want blah. What is the best deal you can do for me? And so that's how and then you take a clip on that, right? That's the power of it. Model number five actually, we're up to number 5, is...
So, example with yours, maybe you couldn't go connect with YouFoods and say, hey guys, we've got 2,000 people in this building, a lot of them are professionals that would love your service.
Exactly.
Let's do some business here.
Correct. And so what we did was we went to the insurance agencies. Hey, we've got a database of 2,000 people in one building. Now, this is one building. So you can imagine how much we're extracting from just one asset, right? Again, it's not... it's a joint venture that we're into with these people. It's not we're not taking all the stuff. So
with the buildings, when you implement it for these businesses, do you then start to look at it as a partnership as well? And do you take
it is a partnership now. Okay. So we are no longer providers, we are partners. And it's in our best interest to make sure that everything works. Because the more money they make, the more money we make.
So you still charge an upfront fee setup, or...?
Charge an upfront subscription fee, plus we have an agreement as to profits, how they're split.
Okay. Yep. That's cool. So you got your IP that they're able to use, and then you look at it as a partnership from then on type thing?
Exactly. So now we're up to business model number 5. Number 5 is trade. So you've used eBay. It's just a platform. It allows buyers and sellers to connect, and they take a clip from every transaction. Once you get the database using this platform, it's money for Jen. So eBay, Gumtree, and I believe Facebook will be introducing this pretty soon with Facebook Marketplace. Right now it's free to post. Eventually they'll have payment systems, etc., and they'll take a clip. Now, if you've got... How many users has Facebook got? 2 billion or something like that?
We've got a couple.
So if each of those people are transacting and trading between each other and they're taking a clip on each one, how much money is Facebook going to make on that? It's just money for Jen, once again.
That's why they implemented Facebook payments, etc.
Exactly. So that's model number 5. So how do you build a system where you've got the trade, allow people to trade? And this is business directories, etc. You can imagine that out as however you want it. Module number 6. Access to offline stuff, offline assets. So you're talking about access to boardrooms, access to pools, gyms, massages. So the one that comes to mind is Airbnb. It's an offline asset, which you don't own that asset, but you're renting it. And then the platform, once again, takes a clip. So Airbnb takes a clip of every transaction. So how do you build an asset into... So again, I'll relate it back to our buildings. Boardrooms, barbecues, meeting rooms. By just putting one little button on there and creating that business model, now they can rent out that space to those people, and they're making money from that again, turn it into a different profit center. Now, model number 7. Are we up to 7? 6, 7. Yes, we're up to number 7. Number 7 is on demand. Now, with a lot of our... So you've got Netflix, you've got Airtasker, you've got all these things
on-demand services.
On-demand services, exactly. People are now conditioned to pay for that on-demand. Udemy, hey, I want to learn how to maximize Excel. I'll go buy a course for $15. Does it cost me much? No, 3 cups of coffee, and now I can upgrade my skills. But again, on-demand, people want it. So we implemented that into our apps and into our buildings. You want to access training, click, learned, upgraded, done. We're putting a lot of learning management systems into companies at the moment. Why? Because the CEOs, in Australia sucks when it comes to training in companies. It's always, go sit next to Mark. Mark will teach you how we do the business. Whereas Mark was only paying attention for 25% of the time and now passes down even 25% more or less to this other person. So it's called tribal training. So Australia sucks when it comes to training. And most companies have proper training. The ones that do are the big corporations. So how does a small business grow? You need to have the passion.
Procedures.
Exactly. You need to have the passion that the CEO has. Every client that comes through the doors has to be treated the way the CEO treats them. So that's why we need to have learning management. It's a learning management system. They record it once and it's there forever. Restaurants. So restaurants have high turnover of staff simply because of the industry they're in. Yet the amount of hours that they spend in training all the time is horrendous. Because they train these people up, and then 1 or 2 months later they're gone, they have to train new people up. Whereas if you implement a learning management system into their business, they can sit there, they can watch this training for the next 2, 3, 5 hours, and they're upgraded exactly how everybody else has been trained. Sorry, I went a bit off track. So that's the access on demand. So that's module number, business number 7, right? System number 7. Number 8, I walked onto a plane, and the lady said, "Good evening, Mr. Nogueira. How are you today? Can I please take your coat? Would you like a champagne or a glass of wine?" Now, would I get that same service on Jetstar or Virgin? No. I walked into Tesla, and the guy said, "Excuse me, Mr. Nogueira, can I please tell you about the engine? It has 17 parts. We can update it from anywhere in the world. If you have any issues at all, come back to us." Apple. If my Apple phone breaks or has a crack or whatever, I walk in there, the genius guy hooks me up and he goes, "Thank you, we'll get you all sorted out." That's why Apple is the only store in the whole shopping center that's always packed. So that model is called the experience model. When people pay a premium to get that experience model. Now, how that relates to our buildings is once somebody lives in our building, they're so used to having all this amazing tech with them, they don't want to go anywhere else because they don't have access to this. Because our tech, what it does is it creates a community, creates cost efficiencies, and creates
Okay, you said creates community. How does that work? Is there an element of community that's in it?
Correct. So inside the app, they've got modules. We've got modules where they can interact with each other. They can have dinners, pool parties, Pilates classes, all that kind of stuff. And they all interact and they actually become a community. In fact, it's been so successful that...
That's cool. That's a really bizarre, really different retention model for buildings.
Yeah, exactly. And, people... I lived in apartments. I never knew any of my neighbors. After you have this technology, you know who your neighbors are. You actually become it becomes like a neighborhood watch. One of the buildings, they had a guy walking around the car park, which nobody knew. So somebody took a photo of him, sent a message around to everybody else saying, "This dodgy guy's walking around on this level. I've never seen him before. He looked a bit sus." 40 people came down, and it was like a vigilante force, right? So now that we tell the building managers, don't encourage this kind of stuff because you just don't know what's going to. They're meant to actually say, stay away, and we'll get the cops there. But it created that sort of a community. Another one, we put it into 135 offices. Now these guys stopped having to travel to go outside for business. They turned into a business hub amongst themselves because they had no idea of all the businesses that were in there, and then they started doing business with each other. Yeah. So then what happened in that was, community aspect, a business would then sponsor a breakfast every Friday morning, and now they got to know each other and spend more time with each other, therefore increasing the commerce that's done in that building.
So like a lot of stuff's happening now. Did you expect this, or did it happen as a unexpected result? Now, once you saw the unexpected results, did you start to facilitate that further within the apps?
Exactly. Correct. So every day we're learning more, and we have more case studies, and we have more. This is why our proposition, our value proposition, is now it's not evolving. It's evolved to a state where people just go, "Shit, when can you get me started? I want this now," because it's real results over 5 years, and you can't. Some of these things you just couldn't expect it. So that's module number 8. Module number 9, we implemented a reseller model. Now, if you think about financial planners, banks, they all resell one product. People who sell Infusionsoft, they're resellers, right? Etc. So a reseller model is where you sell somebody else's products, but you don't actually control the product. So how that applies to us? Well, hosting. Most companies resell hosting. They resell domain names. They resell whatever. So the reseller model is where you're selling somebody else's product and you're getting a clip. Now, financial planners, 2 years ago, were doing really well with this because they are purely resellers. They resell insurance. They resell all the financial planning stuff. Now, I can talk about this because my wife is a financial planner. And they would make, so let's say I signed you up, Joss, on a health insurance plan, right? Do you know how much the financial planner makes if you're spending $100?
I would not know.
As you sign up for that $100, they make $1,200. or $1,400, around that.
Okay.
They get paid 120% of the value of that contract over the year. Because they know that you're not going to change once they got you. But if you do change, they have a clawback where they claw the money back. So they're resellers. So that's why the whole financial planning industry and has had that whole shake-up with the the Royal Commission, etc. Anyway, off topic. Resellers. So now how does that apply to buildings? Well, you've got an app. You click a button and you can apply for a mortgage. You can click a button, you can apply for finance. You can click a button, you can apply for, whatever. You can go shop on Coles online, but we can track everything that happens in the back end. Therefore, we can submit a report or generate a report that says, hey, we sent you this amount of people, which generated this amount of revenue, and so where's our commissions? Cool?
That's cool. That's cool.
So that's model number 9. And then model number 10 is turning your business into an ecosystem. Apple and Android. If you're Apple, you're a diehard Apple fan. If you're an Android, you're a diehard Android fan. But because you cannot... So I bought a brand new Mac. I plugged it in, and it already had all my programs and everything installed. Because it downloaded it from the cloud, and it was ready to go. Cool.
I can see where you're going with this.
I cannot leave this ecosystem. If I wanted to go back to PC, there's no way I can do that. It's just too painful. So now how do you build an ecosystem where once people are in, it's painful to leave your ecosystem? So now what I've done is I've given you the learnings of my last 2.5 years from how to, because I never did this before. But now every business that we do, we build an ecosystem around it, which turns it becomes impenetrable. Which is another word for unfuckwithable.
Oh, my old mate.
So that's what I've got for you so far. What else would you like me to talk about? I could talk to you for hours, my friend.
Yes. You've changed your tact recently. So you've been doing this business, and I know you do a little bit in the day-to-day. So what does your life look like at the moment? Talk to me about that, because I know you're taking this process and showing it to other people, but you do a little bit with the business itself and go to meetings and stuff. Can you talk us?
Yes.
What does a day in the life, typical day, look like these days?
I get woken up with the need of my balls probably every day at 7 o'clock in the morning by my little Max saying, "Daddy, Daddy, morning is here," and he jumps all over me. And so that's 7 o'clock. 7 to 9 is family time. It's very important, and I don't miss that for anything. 9 o'clock is when I sit down at my computer and I decide the 3 things that I'm going to achieve that day, and that's all I focus on. So that's what I do there. In terms of meetings and things, what does my week look like? I spend one day working on building Interactive. So the company is set up, it's fully systemized. It only takes me 1 day a week to run this company. And, it's not just me, there's 5 other people. Yeah. But my time is only 1 day a week.
What does that look like when you say you're building Interactive? What are you doing in order to do that? Is that going over contracts? Is that speaking to people?
Yeah, so it's going to meetings, speaking to people. Yesterday we had a meeting with these guys. I don't know if you can see that, but they're the wealthiest family in Australia. Well, one of them. And going to meetings with people like this, again, I would never be able to get into the doors of these people before. Now they're inviting us in, saying, "Hey, we've heard about your technology, we've heard about what you're doing, come meet us." So what does my week look like? The days that I work on building Interactive? Going to meetings, making sure all the systems are running, making sure we're on top of everything. That's what it takes. The other day I sent you an example of a contract that was sent to us. It was a very, very substantial contract. And what was the 2 clauses that made you burst out laughing in there?
No, what was it? The slavery and something else there.
It was an anti-slavery clause in there, and there was anti-bribery. And I've never seen these things before, but yet when you're dealing with these companies that are billion-dollar companies, they have all these funky clauses, which is just so interesting to read. So what does my week look like? That's a week, 1 day working in building Interactive, and the other 4 days 16 hours a day is now consumed by business authorities.
Okay, tell us, what is business authorities and what is
Sure.
that? Why are you starting this thing?
Cool. So I started writing a book for my beautiful son, Max, and for my daughter. Now, the book is written because with your genes and with my genes, the area that we come from, we're going to be here, not you. I'm going to be here for another 20 years and then I'm gone because we've got really, really bad genetics. Too much drinking, too much fatty foods, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so I wanted to, while I'm in my prime, I wanted to write a book to my son. And in this book, it was all my learnings of how he can accelerate his knowledge, how he can skip things that mistakes that I've wasted. And it's also a book that I wish I had when I was 20, because over my lifetime, I would have been able to impact so many more people if I had followed what's in this book. So I started writing this book and then created the model. And then from that, I started showing it to people. And every person I showed it to said, holy shit, I wish I had this. I wish I had this when I started my business. I wish I had this 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Johann, can you please teach us how to implement this? And so that was January this year. That's when it all started. Now, we're at month number 10. We're turning it into an education company. It's got its own online platform, mobile app. It's got a team of 18. It's got 8 full-time people. The other 10 people in there are speakers. Because I don't know everything, and I will never ever claim to know everything, but I've hired the people who I've worked with in other companies and people who are my advisors to cover each one of my 10 modules. So I've got those guys on there to teach and train and help these businesses. Now, there's a difference between people who are at the coalface, as opposed to the people who are just standing on stage and selling shit. I hate those people. In a nutshell, because they make their money from selling stuff from stage. The people who I've got in here, they make their money from actually helping businesses and building those businesses and helping those businesses grow. So those are the people, and they come on, they teach you exactly what they do and how they do it, and all their methodologies, and they'll take you from here to here very quickly. And they're my trusted advisors. So business authorities is about getting access to the right information to help take your business to the next level. It's broken up into 4 stages. Stage number 1, foundation. Basically, the main thing. And even if a company is 10 years old, it still does not have the right foundations. Now, all of this knowledge is based on the stuff that I've learned of how to build this company, how to take it from 0 to 100 million. Now, we're aiming to get to that 100 million in the next 2 years and IPO it. So it's also a documentation of all of my learnings, and this is what I want to put all of my knowledge into this platform and give that access to. I want to get 10,000 people, 10,000 business owners on there. That's my goal. That's my legacy. So these 10 people, there's foundation. First one is your mindset. The reason that's important is because most people, they start a business, but they start a business and take on everybody. The way I build my businesses is me and my wife. My wife is brilliant. She is amazing. Actually, I learned this from her. I'm going to go into a little bit of a story here. When we were going to get married, after I proposed, I think it was, or just before I was about to propose, she said, hey, honey, let's go down to this, we went down to this beautiful hotel by the seaside, beautiful room. I was like, oh, man, we're going to have some fun over here. She's like, yes, we are. And she pulled out 5 books. And I'm like, oh, fuck, what's this? And she goes, these books, we're going to write down what our life is going to be. So that was like 4 years ago. So we sat in that hotel room for 3 days, and we would write out who is going to be in our life, how our life is going to be, where are we going to travel, what our kids are going to be like, how are we going to raise the kids, what assets are we going to acquire, how are we going to design our life. Everything about our life was documented, in there. And now when we look at those things, everything is coming true. The people who we wanted to attract into our lives, amazing people like you, Joss, they're all just coming into our lives because we actually documented it. We wrote it down. And I cannot explain the power of turning an idea into a goal and planning for it to happen, and then it actually happens. It comes to fruition. So that's the mindset piece. It's very important. So once we have the mindset, because we have to understand your lifestyle. We design our businesses around lifestyle. Now, between me and my wife, we have 5 businesses. Most people don't know how to run one, right? So 5 businesses, there's only one that takes up most of our energy, and that's business authorities, because it's in infancy. It's, we're building and growing it as we're doing it right now. But what we've achieved in 1 year would take another business probably 5 years. So that's how quickly and that's not a bragging thing. We're actually following our business model. So now we have our mindset. The second thing we do is we focus on your mission, the mission of the business. Now, again, most businesses, they take, who's your ideal client? Everyone with a heartbeat. No, that's the worst thing that you could ever do.
It's actually I've been heard.
Exactly. The 80-20 rule. 80% of your income comes from 20% of your clients. So fill your database with those 20% of your clients. So that's the mission, values, team, everything is in that module number 2. Module number 3 is branding. How do you build a brand that leaves a legacy? What does your brand stand for? All of those things. So that's the foundation stuff. Do you want me to continue talking about the rest of the model?
Let's keep talking, dude. I think everyone's loving this.
All right.
Guys, if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments for us. I think, how do we know each other? Scott Bywater just asked, how do me and you know each other? We know each other through Mr. James Brown, who was running a marketing event, and we got connected, and then we finally had a chat.
How do you and me know each other, or how do you and me and...
How do you and me know each other?
Oh, okay, cool. Awesome.
That's all good. So, tell us more. What is the
awesome. So, module number 4. Module number 4 is your presence, your online presence, offline presence. Everything to do with your presence. Your customer journeys through your business, your messages, everything, your website, your marketing, your advertising, your brochures, your mobile apps, everything that you have. What does that look like? So that's the presence module. So designing that out to attract and keep and wow your ideal clients. Module number 5 is technology, leveraging technology. Now, leveraging technology is as simple as having a video, because I can video my top sales guys and have that video go out to our ideal clients, and that is leveraging technology. Yet people do not do that, and that's the most simplest part of technology. When we talk
to so many communication channels, we can easily reach that market.
Exactly. Nowadays when I read a book, I will go and add the person on Facebook, send them a voicemail about everything that I got out of that book, and thank them so much. And you know what they do? They reply back. They talk. We start a conversation. We have engagement, and now we become friends.
Well, Tich Gawara, he's just asked if you can share an infographic. Do you have some sort of infographic that's relevant here?
Yeah, if you can share your page, just go to businessauthorities.com, and the infographic is right there.
Excellent.
So you're the master controller here.
That's right. Let's take a look, see if we can find it. So it's Business Authorities on Facebook, is it?
Correct.
Let's see if we can pull this up whilst we're talking. So can you tell us a bit more about the process? I'll find the infographic.
Yeah, sure. So leveraging technology, we're focused. Well, you can talk about videos, you can talk about anything, but our focus is on CRMs. Most business owners do not know how to leverage technology, how to leverage a CRM. So what we're doing is we've actually created all your campaigns ready for you to deploy into your company. This is as simple as a reactivation campaign, which most clients don't have. So do you want me to talk about what a reactivation campaign is?
Let's do it.
Cool. All right. So I'll give you an example. We had a client call up and say, hey, we need Facebook ads. Can you come in and give us Facebook ads? Deploy Facebook ads for us. We need leads. I said, all right, cool. So we sat down and we started doing an audit of their business, because that's part of our process. The first thing we do is we do an audit of the business. While doing this audit of their business, we found out that they have a database of 12,000 people who they did not touch in 3 years. I'm like, why do you need ads? You've got a database here. So they're like, no, we need new leads. I'm like, what's wrong with these ones? They're like, they don't know us. I'm like, well, neither does anybody out there. So you might as well talk to the people who, you have some sort of relationship with you. So we did a reactivation campaign. We asked for 1,000 of those leads, and we did a direct mail campaign, which most people don't do these days, right? So what we did was we got I think it was a 5 or 7 sequence letter, and we started sending out, we segmented that 1,000 people into different sections based on age, based on what product they bought, etc. And we send them the direct mail pieces. Now, what happened was they called us up 2 weeks later and they said, Johann, can you please stop the campaign? Okay, what's wrong? Did we screw up? I go, no, we're actually booked up for 6 months now, thank you. I'm like, what about the other 11,000? And when do you want to start your Facebook ads? So by doing that little exercise, a reactivation campaign, and direct mail, again, is a technology. Technology is anything that helps make your job easier, right? So it doesn't have to be tech-based. But when we're talking, I'm going to be talking about CRM. Okay, so that's that. Now, the next one is compounding sales. How do you compound your sales? When do you ask for the upsell, downsell, cross-sell? Again, most businesses, they're so happy just to get that sale that they don't ask them for the upsells, downsells, or cross-sells. True? While somebody's buying a website, you should offer them, if you've ever bought a car, anytime you went to buy a car, by the time it took you to buy that freaking car, it probably took you 3 months of your life, right? To go through all the dealerships and then find the right color and all the things. And then when you get there, they say, hey, would you like the tint package, and would you like the sports package, and would you like da-da-da-da? That's where they upsell you. Follow that model. So most businesses don't know how to do that. So we've been giving you all the scripts and everything like that for, how to design that journey so that it's an easy sale. After that, it's about scaling your business. Now, this is our last magnifying portion. How do you build your business so that a 15-year-old could run it? How does McDonald's do it? They do it with processes, systems, procedures. So it's pretty much getting your business ready for franchising. That's how important, that. And once your business is at that stage, man, you can onboard 50 new staff or 50 new clients and not bat an eye. So that is amazing. And probably 0.1, 0.2% of companies actually get to that level, because the majority of businesses around the world are all small businesses and they only have 1 to 2 to 3 people. My mission is to help them build that, and not go bankrupt, because too many of them actually go bankrupt because they don't get to this level. Okay, so now we've got another couple to go. The next one is amplifying your tribe. How do you do joint ventures? How do you use public relations to attract your ideal database and get them into your system so that you can deliver value and sell them on your products and services? So that's amplifying your tribe. The next one is dominating your industry. So how do you dominate your industry? The person who's going to be speaking at business authorities is about writing a book. How do you write a book, but then leverage that book in many ways, shapes, and forms in order to dominate your industry? If you look at anybody who dominates the industry, they all have books. So they become the go-to person, and it just simply adds credibility. Now, this comes back to the final module, which is building your empire. This is actually the first conversation we have with most people. People say, I want to build an empire. I want to have an empire, but they don't know how to get past step 3. Now, once you've gone through the circle, once you've gone through all the modules, now we can talk about building your empire, because now you have cash flow, you have systems, you have leverage. We'll teach you how to. So in my company, what we've done is we've gone and bought up our competitors. We went and bought up complementary businesses. So we acquired all these other companies, which then allowed us to sell our products and services through to these, increasing our profit centers and increasing our profit margins and the value of the company. So that's, in a nutshell, the business authorities formula. I can't hear you, man. You're muted.
So that's really cool. I'm just showing it on the screen for everyone to see the system from businessauthorities.com. That's cool.
Awesome, man. So yeah, that's I've shared 2 models with you today. One is the 10 proven business models, and then our business authorities formula. What else would you like to talk about? I could be here all day.
I think we really could. What else? I think the most things people want to know now is, how can they learn more? What's the next step in their journey if they want to work further with you and learn more about these systems, or even they just want to start implementing it? Like you mentioned, the book you wrote, is that available somewhere, or?
It's getting written. It'll be finished by December. So okay. Yeah. But if they want to connect with me, if they're part of your audience, they can connect with you, and you can make an introduction. That's the best way to work with me.
And people are watching this on YouTube. Where's the best place for them to connect with you?
They can go to businessauthorities.com. That's the best place.
Perfect. All right, guys. I think this was really fun. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments, and we'll try to get to them as soon as we can, if Johann has a chance to see that. Otherwise, take a look at businessauthorities.com. He's an epic guy. doing some great stuff, and I think he's really going to help a lot of businesses with the systems he's shared here today.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here. Thank
see
you,
you all, guys. See you guys.
Bye-bye. Bye.